name is Miriam Holt, and I'm the host of A Sister's Heart, Only for You. A Sister's Heart is a platform where women from all walks of life can come and discuss their struggles, their desires, their aspirations, their victories, and even their goals, all in the name of helping someone else. Today, we're going to talk about a subject I feel is taboo. It's something that's already been swept under the rug, but today we want to really talk about it. And the subject is depression. Now, what depression is, it is a mental state of mind where it affects people's moods. It not only affects their moods, but it affects even how they act. And today we're going to talk with a young lady who has struggled with this. We see people from all walks of life who struggle with depression. They can be young, they can be old, they can be rich, they can be poor. It doesn't really matter. Just recently, a young lady plunged to her death with depression. And you know what, we thought on the outside, it looked like she was cool, like she had everything together. But in reality, she was struggling and calling out for help on the inside. Well, today we have with us Destiny Lassiter, and she is going to share with us her story of how she struggled with depression, past tense, and now she's has a victorious life. Hi, Destiny. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great. We're going to just jump right in there. We know that you are a licensed practical nurse, correct?
Yes.
And you have a son. What's his name?
Jeremiah.
How old is Jeremiah?
He'll be 6 in May.
6-year-old son. Oh, my God. That's wonderful. So you have a son, you have a thriving career, but yet earlier on in your life, you struggled with depression.
Yes.
Let's go back to the beginning. When did you know that you were depressed or had depression?
It started when I was in 3rd grade. And I would notice when I'm around my friends, my thought process was different. I always stayed sad. I never liked the way I looked. I had a hard time with self-esteem as a young girl. And I remember going to my 3rd grade teacher saying that, I'm really, really ugly. My mom stated that she noticed something was wrong also, but she didn't think anything of it at the time. But she said that she noticed some different things about me. I was scared of a lot of things. I had a lot of anxiety. I was afraid to go places at times, just simple stuff. So I struggled with a lot of emotional ups and downs.
And all of this started at the age of?
About 8.
8 years old. A lot of us have children that's 8 years old, and I didn't even really realize that children that young could even struggle with depression.
Yeah.
But you did reach out to your teacher.
I did.
And did your teacher give you any kind of help or assistance at that age?
I just remember her saying that maybe I need to talk to somebody. She was encouraging me that I am a beautiful person. But at the time, I just kind of left it alone.
Wow.
And I didn't think anything of it.
But it still kept with you.
It kept with me.
So what about even as you got to an adult? So you're 8 years old, and now as you're getting older, going to your teen years, you still struggle with it?
Yes, all the way up. Sometimes I still struggle with it, especially when my young adult years. A lot of relationships I couldn't keep. A lot of friendships I couldn't keep. I struggled with friends. I didn't know why. My thought process was just different. I like to be alone. I isolate myself from a lot of people. When I'm in a state of I don't want to be around somebody, or when I'm down, I just shut down. And I noticed a lot of people handle problems and situations different. But with me, I would isolate. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't eat. I would overeat. And then you start having these negative thoughts that come up. And a lot of people don't like to be around stuff like that because they don't know what it is to begin with. And there's a stigma with depression because you don't want to talk about it with certain people because they either will back off from you. They don't want to deal with that because sometimes that can jump on other people, always being negative. Right. So I was a constant loner for a long time.
Did that kind of like stop you from getting to your goals, your aspirations? I know you had dreams and desires. Did the depressed state kind of like stop you from even going there?
Major setbacks that I've encountered. With school, I couldn't focus in school, not even with school, with my job. I couldn't keep a job. It's hard when you're in a depressed state because you feel hopeless. It's a constant, it's emotions that are uncomfortable that are with you all the time. That is something that you can't really solve at that time. You just have to deal with it. It was situations on my job where I couldn't have complete conversations. I couldn't be around a lot of people because I just felt I was just having this feeling where I didn't have a language for it. I didn't have any words for it. I just had to feel that way. It's almost like COVID. Everybody's experienced quarantine, but with depression, it's constant.
Wow.
So people that are talking about, I want to go here, I want to go there, but they can't because things are blocked off. That's how a person with depression is. You're isolated all the time. So that's why people need to be on medication or need help, need therapy, because that's what people with depression deal with. Always isolation, always by themselves.
Did you ever think that people were out to get you, or did you have like these thoughts that people didn't care about you, didn't love you?
Yeah. That's a part of it too. It's a hopeless state. It's filled with emotions that are uncomfortable and you think the worst. I had, my dad wasn't in my life like that, mainly in and out. And with him, I experienced rejection. I heard him one time saying that he didn't want me and my brother. So that triggered a lot in my life, and it caused me to have failures in my relationships with men and dating. Rejection was my first introduction to anything. So for some reason, I clinged to men that rejected me. I didn't really understand it at the time because that's what my father showed me. Rejection. So I didn't feel love because I didn't feel loved at home at times. So on top of dealing with depression, I got into the world, and it just went from there.
So you felt like because that triggered it by your father, listening and hearing your father say he didn't want you, kind of like triggered that.
Something that was already there.
So it felt like you were abandoned. And like you said, isolation.
Yes.
So a lot of times when you're isolated, you're cut off from those persons that can even help you.
Yes.
So it looks like to me like depression is kind of like keeping you away from those things that actually could help you.
Yes. And abandonment, it's funny you use that. I've always felt abandoned in everything. I felt abandoned from my own father. So if that was my first impression for the person who's supposed to love me, what do I got to look forward to in life? So that's on top of everything else that I'm dealing with. So I had a hard time trusting a lot of people, even with my friends, even with a lot of different things. Abandonment was a big part of it.
We're going to come back because we're going to ask Destiny some more questions. So we're going to come back and she's going to talk about, I think, she's going to talk about suicidal thoughts. A lot of times people who get depression has these suicidal thoughts. And did that happen to you?
Yes.
So when we come back, we're going to find out about those thoughts, and then we're also going to find out how she overcame it, how she came through it, and how she's victorious today. We'll be right back. We're back, and we were talking with Destiny Lassiter about depression. And she was telling us about the suicidal thoughts that came in her head and how she reacted to those thoughts. So Destiny, in your depressed state, you said you had some suicidal thoughts. How did that come about? How did that occur?
Suicidal ideation is very prevalent with people who are depressed. It got really bad after my divorce. When my husband walked out. On top of that, already dealing with things that we were going through. To make it simple, after he left, I had these negative thoughts and I tried to commit suicide.
That's something you really don't want to talk about, or?
I I can try and get there.
Okay.
I was in a really, really dark place. I had a lot of things. I was already broken from the beginning in the marriage. We didn't really know each other. We had a child, trying to do it the right way. Like we wanted to be a family like most people. We didn't agree on a lot of things. So it came down to a point where he left the situation, left the marriage, left me with bills, left me as a single mother. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I depended on him. It triggered something in me that I never really experienced before, and I just didn't want to live at that time. So sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
One point in my life, I tried to take my life. I tried to hang myself. I had put the rope around my neck. I had placed it on the end of the treadmill where it could hang. And I just sat there. And at the point, I felt myself not being able to breathe. I got scared, but I didn't do anything.
Okay.
Because for some reason, I don't know if I enjoyed the pain. I just didn't care what happened at that point. The rope broke.
Thank God.
It broke. And my friend came in and seen that. And I'm here today by the grace of God. So I'm supposed to be here. But I was in a very, very dark spot, a very dark place that I just didn't know how to handle at the time.
That is a real struggle that people need to hear about. They may be in the same place you were in. But you said something that touched my heart, and it said that you didn't do it because there was something else and so much more. And it's a song I heard, I'm alive today because there's more. There's so much more for you to do. And a lot of times we have to just realize that there is so much more. And now I see that you're coming out of that state that you were in because you realize that there is so much more. And to those of you that are out there who may have been in the same state that she's in, maybe going through it now, remember there is so much more. That's why you're alive, because God has so much more for you to do. And now that you have known that this is not the end, this is the beginning, and you have that beautiful son, how did he help you to kind of like to make it?
You know what? It's a blessing. Children are really blessings to your lives. And, you know, this is my son, and I don't want my son to experience anything that I have. And it's as a mother, as a father, any parent, you want to shield your children from hurt and pain the best that you can. So I'm blessed to teach my son about God. I'm blessed to have a mother who's a prayer warrior. I'm blessed to have a friend who's a prayer warrior, a second family who are into God. So I can teach my son, constantly praying over him, constantly believing that God is going to recreate me in a person that I never knew I had instilled in me. And so it's important for me to show my son that every situation that fails, I don't need to get down about. Every situation that doesn't go my way, I don't need to get down about. Getting on my knees and surrendering to God is something that I want to show him and keep it moving. And so he's motivated me to become a better person because I'm responsible for him. I'm responsible for his well-being. I'm responsible as his mother to make sure he has the best life possible. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going to finish school. That's what keeps me going to go to work every day. That's what keeps me going to be a better person and sit here and speak with you and the other children and other people who may be dealing with depression, that it's okay. Sometimes it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay there.
Right.
You know, if you need to get help, it's okay. If you need to talk to somebody, it's okay. If you need to go to therapy, it's okay. If you need to sing a song, it's okay. If you need to write it out, it's okay. What's not okay is not saying anything about it, because then the enemy is able to attack your mind. The enemy is able to get in your mind and tell you things what you already feel about yourself. Go ahead and jump over the cliff. Go ahead and take yourself out. Go ahead and hang that rope. Go ahead and cut your wrist. Go ahead and do that. That's the enemy talking. When you got God in your life, you surrender. When you got God in your life, you have a support system. You have people who love you around you. Not everybody gets that. So if you don't have that, the thing that you will always have is God.
That's good. And so you had that turnaround. What was that turnaround place for you when you got to the point where it said enough is enough? How did you get to that enough is enough place?
The turnaround point was when I tried to commit suicide.
That was
The turnaround point was when I seen another person abandon me. It reminded me of my father that was supposed to love me. These are men that were supposed to love me. My dad was supposed to protect me and love me, but didn't. And I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but he only knew what he could do because he didn't have his father there. So instead of him dropping the torch, he still carried it, in my opinion. So I'm dropping the torch. So my son doesn't have to go through that. So it triggered something at that time. And that was the point where I have to speak to people. I have to minister to people. I have to encourage people because there's so many people out here dealing with that. There's so many people out here who are depressed.
So now you're dealing with that. You dealt with that. You dealt with that. That's behind you now. And now you are going to be an ordained minister to tell the world about your story. So it takes courage to do that. So now that you're ordained minister, what do you think that's going to be, that life is going to be on that other side of depression?
I think it's going to be amazing. But one thing about clinical depression, which I have, it doesn't go away medically. It's something that will always stay, but I know how to manage it better now. Me ministering to other people because I've been through the struggle and because I came out on the other side with God, I'm able to connect and relate to other people. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Being transparent will help others. And I think that's how I will be able to reach people. So it's amazing to be able to touch people, to tell your story, not to put anybody out, not to put myself out, but to touch other people out here that's dealing with it.
That's what it's all about, helping other people to know that they can overcome. They don't have to stay in the same situation they're in because there is a way out.
Yes.
And I always like to say the way out is God.
Yes.
There is a way out. You don't have to stay there.
Yes.
You can come out.
Yes.
You can be blessed. You can have a full life. You can be happy 24/7. You can do that. You can do it.
Yeah.
So this is another episode of A Sister's Heart Only for You. Thank you, Destiny, for being with us today. And we know that you are going to be speaking in other places. And you look out for Destiny. What is your tag on Facebook so people can...
Destiny Lasser. They can just look me up on Facebook, Destiny Lasser.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at her and keeping up with her. Again, this is Miriam Holt, the host of A Sister's Heart. And remember, we don't do it for ourselves. We do it only for you.